You ever open your mailbox, see one of those official envelopes, and just know your day's about to go sideways? Well, picture this. It's a Tuesday, sun beating down. I'm thinking I finally made it. I bought my dream house in Pine Valley, California, a place I designed with my own two hands. 3 months in, I get this letter from the HOA. Didn't think much of it, honestly. I mean, how much trouble could a patch of grass really cause? Turns out, more than you'd ever believe. Let me back up a sec. So, I'm standing there, holding this thick paper that smells like toner and anxiety, and it says my grass is non-compliant. The number jumps out, 3.2 inches tall, and the rule is 3. You hear that? 0.2 inches. Thinner than a pencil mark, less than the margin of error on the tape measure. I remember actually laughing at first, like, is this a prank? But nobody was laughing the next day. You know how you can just feel someone watching you? That's Mildred Finch, HOA president, always in press slacks, those icy blue eyes, watching the neighborhood like a hawk with nothing better to do. Her lawn looks like it belongs in a magazine. Never a leaf out of place, not a single dandelion. Even the sidewalk cracks look pressure-washed. I called the office, thinking there had to be some mistake. Mildred answered. Her voice was so cold, it practically iced my phone. Rules are rules, Miss Miller. Expect a citation. She hung up before I could even breathe. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about grass. Someone had been waiting for me to slip up. I trimmed the grass, measured it to the millimeter. Problem solved, right? Wrong. 2 days later, I get a thicker letter. This one comes with a $400 fine. $200 for the grass. Another $200 for disrupting community aesthetics outside of approved hours. Because I mowed at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. They'd even included photos, with arrows and everything, like my yard was a crime scene. Now I'm outside, triple-checking my measurements, when Walter Green, my 70-year-old neighbor, walks over. He looks like he's carrying the weight of the world. He slips me a folded piece of paper, glancing around like we're in some Cold War movie. Inside is an email Mildred sent before I even got my first violation. Recommend escalated monitoring for Phase 2 target properties. Yeah, apparently I was a Phase 2 target. My heart just sank. This wasn't about neighborhood harmony. This was a hunt that I started noticing the little things. Everyone else's yards had weeds or hedges a little overgrown, but nobody else got cited. That night, Walter invited me over. His living room looked like a detective's office. Boxes of files, old photos, spreadsheets. Mildred's forced out 5 families in 3 years, he said. Always the same routine. Start small, stack the fines, make life miserable until they sell. Then he laid out the kicker. Every house ended up with a company called Titan Holdings LLC, always swooping in at just the right time, buying cheap from desperate families. And guess who got a fat consulting fee for every deal? Mildred, $50,000 a pop. Now, I'm no genius, but that's not community service. That's organized fraud. Next morning, I get another violation, this time for cutting the grass too short. I was officially in HOA hell. Walter put me in touch with Monica, a real estate attorney. Monica was sharp, all business, and she said, they want you to admit guilt by paying. Don't give in, document everything. Make them show their hand. So that's what I did. Every day, I took photos, wrote down times, tracked every call and letter. But the fines just kept coming, one after another, for rules I never even knew existed. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, started dreading my own front yard. For notices in, they summoned me to the monthly board meeting. Felt less like a neighborly get-together and more like a courtroom drama. Walking into that meeting, I could feel every eye on me. Mildred at the front, for unfamiliar faces at her side, neighbors avoiding my gaze. They projected slides, graphs, even a case study titled The Miller Case. I mean, come on, over grass. Mildred read out a list of violations, 5 minutes straight, each one more absurd than the last. Then, with a little smirk, she announced they were moving to foreclose on my house. One more violation, and it's gone. My stomach dropped through the floor. I tried to protest, But Mildred had an answer for everything, pointing to the HOA's bylaws and compound interest rates like she was a mob accountant that I walked out of there in a daze. In the parking lot, a few neighbors finally approached me. An older lady who'd lost her home, a man from a couple streets over who'd nearly gone bankrupt fighting the same game. "Don't let them win," they whispered, but their faces said they'd already lost that a week later. I'm trying to forget the nightmare when two cops show up at my door. "Rachel Miller, you're under arrest for harassment and making threats against a public official." Neighbors watched from behind curtains as they put me in cuffs. The humiliation was so raw I thought I'd never recover. But in that cell, something broke in me. Not my spirit, just my patience for being pushed around. Monica bailed me out. While I was in holding, Mildred had filed the foreclosure, now claiming I owed over $12,000 in fines. It was all manufactured: late fees, emergency meetings, even security costs for the day I was arrested. That night, sitting on my bed, it hit me. Either I fight back or I lose everything. Maybe worse, I'd be leaving the next person to fend for themselves. So I got to work. My dining table turned into a war room. Binders, diagrams, timestamps, evidence of violations ignored for board members, but not for the rest of us. I tracked every fake company, every shady deal. Walter brought in other families who'd been targeted, and their stories all lined up: manufactured violations, intimidation, forced sales. Then, we found the smoking gun. Monica uncovered documents showing Mildred was the true owner of all those shell companies, buying up houses under different names, hiding money trails, even forging signatures. Walter had secretly recorded board meetings for years. One clip caught Mildred planning my downfall 2 years before I even moved in. With 2 weeks left until the foreclosure hearing, the local news picked up our story. A reporter called, saying, "Your case could help thousands." For the first time, it felt like we had a real shot. The night before court, my living room was filled with neighbors, some crying, some angry, all determined not to let Mildred win one more time. The hearing was chaos. Mildred's lawyer came in hot, presenting doctored photos, fake spreadsheets, even bringing up my arrest as proof I was a menace. But when Monica laid out our evidence, the timelines, the financial records, the audio recordings, it was like the tide turned in an instant. Even the judge looked shocked hearing Mildred's voice on tape, plotting to run families out for profit. Verdict came swift. Foreclosure thrown out, fines erased, full investigation launched into the HOA and Mildred's companies. She lost everything: her position, her houses, her reputation. The neighborhood finally saw her for what she was. Walter took over as president, promised a new start, neighbors helping neighbors for real this time. Funny thing, 8 months later, I'm still in my house, grass growing wild at 3.6 inches, and nobody cares. No drones, no measuring tapes, just a breeze and the sound of kids playing down the street. Turns out the weeds weren't in my lawn. They were running the board. So tell me, where do you draw the line? When do you stand up, even if your voice shakes? Ever fought back against a system built to crush you? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about what real justice looks like, because maybe, just maybe, it starts with one person refusing to stay quiet.